welcome to the Dispatches from Dystopia Podstack. I'm Star, this is episode 4, and today we're talking about the rhythm of life. So, one thing I've noticed about dystopia is that dystopia always seeks to subvert and destroy the natural order of things. So, whether we're talking about a fictional dystopia like in Brave New World, where the world government takes over the manufacture of new human life and cooks up babies in vats, or a real world dystopia, like for instance, the Holodomor, where the agrarian people were severed from their land and the whole cycle of sowing and nurturing and harvesting crops was bureaucratically and militarily disrupted. And farming communities were broken up and robbed of their connection to their ancestral land. This is always a feature of dystopia. The dystopian forces do not trust the natural law or natural rhythm, and they seek to disrupt the natural order and disentangle human living from it. And we can think of a lot of examples of this in our present dystopia. Anti-life forces are pretty much always present, not just during a time of obvious or protracted dystopia. And I've been thinking a lot lately about how our Western methods of keeping time fall into this category of severing humanity from the natural order of things. So, tomorrow is the new moon in this hemisphere, at least, and I've been feeling kind of low energy the past few days. It used to be that this would happen. I'd feel very tired and sort of unmotivated for a few days each month. And it's not depression really, or I'm not in total couch potato mode either, but just not really wanting to do much and having trouble motivating myself to do stuff in service of my goals in life. Nothing beyond like the normal daily necessities, really. And mostly I just want to read books and maybe do a little journaling when I feel this way. And I used to get really down on myself for this because I wanted to be on all the time, working towards my goals every day, making progress, etc. And like hearkening back to the episode I did a couple weeks ago, I think it was episode 2, where I discussed how I view laziness. This was me confusing true rest for laziness. And because I had this background guilt for resting, I wasn't fully experiencing true rest. I wasn't getting the full benefits of the rest I was taking, which is the natural downbeat. Rest is the natural downbeat to expansion and activity. But I contracted instead due to the guilt, and then I didn't get the rest really. So this all started to change for me a little over a year ago when it occurred to me that all things in the natural world have periods of activity, periods of rest, and they follow each other in a natural rhythm. So I'm part of the natural world. So why shouldn't that be true for me, a human being? Maybe I just needed rest during those times when I felt that way, and maybe I could figure out the rhythm and start to reorganize my life in gentle ways to sort of accommodate it. So, after a few months of carefully observing this pattern, I realized that the feeling of demotivation or quote unquote laziness didn't occur randomly for me. It was occurring with the phases of the moon. And I know that sounds crazy. I thought it was crazy too at first, but it happened the same way each cycle. When the moon is waning, it's in its last few days before the clean slate of the new moon, the balsamic phase it's called, is when I feel it pretty much every month without fail. So this discovery called for some tweaking in how I maintained my framework of time management. And there was no point really resisting the urge to rest. If I did, any work I got done during that time would be subpar, and I'd be struggling to get back in the groove once that rest period was over. So I had to surrender to this urge to rest. So I did make a few changes. Probably the biggest one is that I stopped planning my goals for the month at the beginning of a calendar month. Now I set my intentions at the new moon and try to get most of my progress made during the first couple weeks between the new moon and the full moon, when my energy and motivation levels tend to be the highest. And each new moon, I do a little ritual. I clean my bedroom and workspace, and that serves two purposes actually. One is It's a patch for my ADHD tendency to forget to clean my space, and it also immerses me in the deep metaphor of clearing away the detritus of the old phase to make room for the seeds I want to plant in the new phase. And then I spend some very deliberate time setting my intentions for the rest of the month or for the next phase. And I do a little ritual of gratitude and intention. And this isn't just going through the motions, that type of ritual. It's something I do very consciously and creatively, and it's a little different each time. It feels amazing. New moon, new me. Another change that I've made is I try not to plan big events or project targets during the last few days before and the first couple of days after the new moon. So that way I don't put a lot of pressure on myself to achieve something when I'm probably just not going to have the energy for it. So I'm just going with the flow. And this last big change that I stopped berating and guilt tripping myself for needing rest, which is kind of wild, but I think a lot of people do it. Once I could see the pattern that this rhythm existed, it all made so much more sense. And I was able to surrender during those low energy times to be able to relax and rejuvenate in preparation for the next high energy phase. So that doesn't mean that I don't do anything during the last week of the lunar cycle. And it's not really a full week, it's more like 3 to 5 days, depending on the month. But I still get up and I go to work. I'm just more focused on like quiet, receptive, and appreciative forms of doing. So I'm reading, I'm spending time with people close to me. I'm more conscious about enjoyment of life and gratitude for what I have, and I don't put a lot on myself during those days. So my to-do list is pretty slim. One thing I don't scratch off of the list during the balsamic phase is my daily habits. So I still try to do a little meditation, a little exercise, a little creative activity, and even if it's just journaling out my thoughts, because on those low energy days, it's maintenance. It's not work targeted toward achieving any goal. It's just maintaining my base level of human operation. So the Gregorian calendar, which is the calendar we all use in our daily lives since like 1582, that is used throughout most of the world, is fine for recording events in history, for scheduling meetings and things like that. But it does little to help us keep pace with the natural rhythms of life. And in fact, it enables us to deny that those kinds of rhythms even exist. And our whole modern system of timekeeping and time management is built on that, on kind of an oversight. So through that, we've created our own synthetic rhythms, like 5 days to a work week, 2 days off, and like don't even get me started on daylight savings. So I'm not alone in my view that a lunar calendar is good for keeping to life's rhythms. Astrologers are really adamant about this, and many religions also take advantage of this natural lunar rhythm for conducting their spiritual lives, their spiritual calendar. I'm not really sure that this is going to be the case for every single person. I only know that it works well for me, and it must be true for a lot of people since the lunar calendar has been used in this way throughout many cultures for planting, for harvesting, for intention setting, for measuring times of activity and rest, for planning feast days and fast days and things like that. So this might not be true for you, I don't know. But the cool thing is that it's really not very hard to find out. So I suggest if you're interested in this, that you maybe begin to record what you're doing and how you feel about it each day. You can just jot down on a piece of paper the date, what you spent the day doing, whether you failed or succeeded in your estimation, and how you felt about it while you were doing it. Did you feel tired? Did you feel unmotivated? Did you feel like raring to go? So do this for a few months and see if any patterns start to emerge. It could be that um, I kind of doubt that we're all on the same cycle, because everybody's such an individual. It's probably more of this like Venn diagram of different cycles. But a lot of people probably do fall into the lunar productivity and rest phase cycle. So Yeah, just see if any patterns start to emerge, and then you can make decisions about whether you want to tweak your day to day and month to month schedule based on those patterns. So I'm going to bring it all back around to dystopia, which after all is the theme of my Substack. So I'll leave you with this. The way out of dystopia is difficult to see because although it depends on the actions of everybody affected by the dystopia, which in this case is literally everyone on the planet, the only part you can observe under a microscope is your own actions and what they produce. So, where you place your own feet on the path each day, moment to moment. And something so small as what day you plan your goals for the month and when or how you rest might seem totally inconsequential to stepping outside of or ending dystopia. But I think it's in those little things that we really rise above the dystopian forces. Anything you can do within your locus of control that brings attention to what is real flies in the face of those who would impose a system of unreality on the entire human race. And anything you can do to honor the natural order of life is going to be a counter to the unnatural order that dystopia really festers in. And anything you can do to adhere to your own natural rhythm is bringing you out of step with the authoritarian programs of control and therefore more closely aligning you with your own inner authority. The one thing that is necessary in order for the whole human race to walk away from dystopia is for each individual to surrender to the recognition of his or her inner authority. So there's some food for thought. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you're into increasing your inner authority and acting in a productive way in alignment with your purpose in life, whatever that may be, you might be interested in my productivity group, Extremists Being Awesome. We are radical thinkers and doers. We get together almost every day for deep work and to encourage each other through all the ups and downs, the activity and the rest periods, the rhythm of life, and we have a lot of fun. I'm running a special discount on Extremists Being Awesome membership through the end of May. So check out the links in the description to join us. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or like and restack if you're listening on Substack. May you flow with the rhythm of life this week, this month, and may your inner authority guide you in all your daily deeds. Until next time, peace out.